What is geometry? Researchers have shown that human thinking consists of two aspects, namely verbal logical and visual spatial. Verbal logical is associated with the left hemisphere of our brain and tends to operate sequentially and logically. Visual spatial is associated with the right hemisphere of our brain and tends to operate holistically and intuitively. Our senses and environment have enabled both of these aspects to evolve and develop. Mathematics is a subject that is not only connected to the world of numbers, but also to the physical world around us and events that occur within it. Mathematical reasoning is the sum of the fields of number, measurement, and geometry. There are various points of view as to a precise definition of geometry. The Oxford Word Finder defines it as the field of mathematics concerned with the properties and relations of points, lines, surfaces, and solids. Geometry can also be defined as an exploration of space, or an investigation or discovery of pattern and relationship in shape, size, and place. Shape and space are the two words that crop up in almost every definition. This clearly indicates that if we wish to be effective mathematics teachers, we must ensure that we develop our learners' spatial ability and sense of visual imagery. What is a teaching-learning trajectory? A teaching and learning trajectory is the path or course that we must follow if we wish to progress in a particular field. Geometry has a cyclical teaching and learning trajectory, meaning that the development of certain skills belongs to each of the four categories often takes place simultaneously. Geometric skills are not developed in a specific order, and therefore we can teach our learners to determine the position of a town before or after they have learned to reflect shapes and figures. These skills also keep returning with each new grade, but at a higher level. When teaching geometry in the intermediate phase, it is useful to think about our objectives in terms of two related frameworks: spatial sense and geometric reasoning, and specific geometric content related to a specific grade. The first framework focuses on how our learners think and reason about shape and space, and the second focuses on the content of shape and space. What is spatial sense? Spatial sense is an intuitive feel for one's surroundings and the objects in them. To develop our learners' spatial sense and geometric reasoning, we must allow them to have many experiences that focus on geometric relationships, the direction, orientation, and perspectives of objects in space, the relative shapes and sizes of figures and objects, and how a change in shape relates to a change in size. Our learners are not born with spatial sense. It must be developed. Many of our learners will have developed their spatial sense through extramural activities. We must help those less fortunate to develop their spatial sense by using activities that expand and enhance their spatial abilities. Learners can develop their spatial sense through work with 2- and 3-dimensional objects. What is geometric content? Geometric content in the intermediate phase focuses on 4 outcomes, which can be summarized in the following 4 categories: shapes and properties. Learners study the properties of shapes in both 2 and 3 dimensions, as well as the relationships built on the properties. Transformation. Learners study translations, reflections, rotations, symmetries, and the concept of similarity. Location, learners study how objects are located in space. Visualization, learners study and are able to recognize shapes in their environment, develop relationships between 2- and 3-dimensional objects, and draw and recognize objects from different perspectives. These 4 categories form the content framework for the intermediate phase, which bridges grades so that teachers can examine their learners' growth from year to year. Considering all of the above, we can define geometry as the investigation of patterns and relationships in shape, size, and position. It also includes the development of the skills and processes which enable us to operate in, understand, and manipulate the 2- and 3-dimensional world we live in.